now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Welcome back, my putrid little poltergeists, and thank you all for joining us for another hair-raising episode of the Boulet Brothers, Creatures of the Night.
So by now, you already know that our spinoff series, The Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, is coming to Shudder and AMC Plus as a Shudder original series this October. Everyone has been so excited about the show, and we've gotten tons of questions about it, so we thought we would dedicate an entire episode to Titans and talk about all the burning, scalding, behind-the-scenes tea that only we have to spill. So we're going to answer a lot of questions the fans have about Titans tonight, but the first thing I want to discuss is why Titans and why now?
Yes. I think it's kind of something we've always wanted to do, but of course, you had to bide your time. The idea, like way at the beginning, was like, oh, imagine a day when we have multiple generations of monsters and we can bring them together in our own way and put them all to the test.
That's the thing. When we cast people for the show, they are people that we are fans of. They are people that excite us and people that we want to see on TV. And more importantly, people that we want to mix up with other people and see what they will do.
Yes, because there's a lot of sorcerous disciplines, and one of our favorites has always been alchemy.
Right. So, of course, ever since the first season of the show, we've had fantasies about bringing competitors back. And especially after season 2, 3, 4, it's been 6 years since we did the first season. So there's so many monsters out there to mix up and see what they would do with each other.
Which is crazy because it actually feels like 60 sometimes.
It feels like 60 years. Absolutely.
It sure
Absolutely.
does. For some of them, though, their time on the show was so long ago in all the iterations because as fans know, every time we had another chance, we flipped the show and upped the production and really just advanced, I think, well beyond our years. Where with a PD of episode 1, and the production was like multiplied from seasons 1 to 2 and then flipped again from 2 to 3. So now we're going to be showing monsters from all 4 seasons of the show and what dramatic changes it's going to be for some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of them were shocked at the differences. One storyline that I think is going to be very interesting that we can't talk too much about, I think one of them maybe couldn't handle the difference, right? And I think people will see that unfold as the season progresses.
Very interesting. And also an aspect that we can never foresee. Fans applaud us for not overproducing and playing the hand of God too hard on the storylines. Like, we actually just let these stars compete. The pressure of the show is enough and their characters come through, and that's what becomes compelling. And one of them really does show that some of the changes of the format might be too much for them to bear.
Absolutely. Well, as far as why now, in my opinion, it's the right time. It's the right time to strike because I think the show has grown a lot since we first started.
Mm-hmm.
And we have just the right amount of monsters, I think, to pick from to justify doing a sort of like all-stars format.
Yeah. But we also knew that we would want to do it our way too. Like, I slightly cringe at the term all-stars.
I do too.
Because I think it's loaded with expectation and just like limitations.
Yeah.
So for us, the monsters that didn't win are dead, murdered by yours truly, largely. So our storyline is the Boulets wake up one night and decide that they want to revisit some of the spirits of some of their most powerful monsters from previous seasons. So we descend to the underworld and put them all to the greatest test, and we will return with one, the first Titan of Dragula.
Exactly.
Ooh, let it sink in because it's so good.
Very exciting. Yeah, I feel like we've said this before on the podcast and in other places, like we've always wanted the opportunity to bring these stars back because I feel like we bring them on TV, they become characters, they become lovable, they get a fan base. And a lot of times in reality TV, those people just get discarded, right? And you don't ever see them again. And then you move on to the next cast. And I'm like, why do that? To me, I'm like, we have so many stars that now have their own fan bases. It's like, bring them back. I want to see what they do next. And also, I think every time you bring someone back, you see a different side of their personality.
Well, because there's a learning curve, right?
Yes.
There's a learning curve about not only being in a competition that's this critical, but also like being on camera for the first time. And then also seeing yourself being judged by your fans and
Right.
being judged by the public. So it's like an ever evolving experience.
It's interesting because some people I see that affect them, right? And they come on and they're very guarded and they're very phony, I guess people would say. And then there's other people who are literally exactly who they were the first time they came on. It's like clockwork. You can predict. You're like, they're going to do exactly what they did on their season, even if it's years later. It's crazy.
It's so weird. I think an added element to our cast is compared to other reality shows where, okay, you have talent. These are the stars. They come and they go and they're kind of disposable. We break that format by bringing the stars back, but they're not just characters. They're also artists, and the art evolves.
For some of them.
Well, the way the drag manifests does generally change, but what you're saying is true. Like who they are on the inside, for many of them, they are who they are. You can almost predict and program how they're going to react given a certain circumstance, and it's spooky.
I spend unhealthy amounts of time imagining what it would be like to be a competitor on a show like this, right? And I think about, like, what if I was in it? And what if I was on a couple years ago and then I came back? Or what if they asked me to do this? Or what if they asked me to do that? I spend a lot of time thinking about that because I want to make the best show that we can, and I want to put them in an environment that will inspire them to live out loud in an interesting way for viewers to watch, you know? But one of the things I noticed is that the conclusion I always come back to is that at some point you're going to forget that the cameras are on and you're just going to be you. And I think that's what happens to them. And that's why sometimes we see people who are like, wow, they performed exactly the same way. Even though we know that they've grown as an artist and a person since their season, they're still them, you know? And when you get used to the cameras and you accept that there's cameras on you, you forget about them, you forget you're mic'd all the time, and you just start being you know?
I think that is when we hit the sweet spot.
Yeah.
That is when the show and the stars of the show are at their best.
Yeah. And I mean, some people can't let it go, as we will see on this season of Titans.
Well, yeah, you know, we don't want to get too far into any details because we don't want any surprises spoiled for the season of Titans. But I think one thing that we can say is that there are so many twists and turns and surprises on this show.
You know, after all of our teams gathered up and, you know, worked on everything, it was sort of insisted that, like, the term Gagula get included in the press release because it was said so many times, and it was just like there were so many twists and turns, and I was like, I reveled in it because I'm like, that's right. This is not a regular season of the show. This is a spinoff. We can do whatever we want.
And what we want.
And we sure did. And we sure did.
And we sure as hell did. And sometimes, you know, and we've had many moments like this because even going back to season 1, we make it a collective decision. And then when Drac and I have the luxury of being alone for a minute, we look at each other and I'm like, are we actually about to do this? Yes, we are. Yes, we definitely are.
All right, so before we get too deep into it, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by our supervising producer, Ian. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, darlings. And it's time to talk about the most exciting part of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, and that is the cast. But before we do, we'd like to welcome to the show our supervising producer and co-host, Ms. Ian DeVogler.
Ooh, I am here, and one thing I want to say is, you all know who I am, and you all know that I will always bring my fake podcast personality with me. Here I am, ready to talk about the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for being prepared with your fake personality.
Always, girl.
That is the best accusation that has been lobbed.
I'm like, put it on my tombstone. Here lies Ian and his fake ass personality. I love it.
They don't understand that you're actually wilder.
Oh
when
my
you're
God.
Not on the podcast.
Literally. I mean, like, just to spill the behind the scenes tea, literally, before we sat down to record, Swan, like, grabs me and she's like, now, Ian, don't be too crass. I'm like, don't worry. She's like, I know you. I know you. After the last episode, I know.
She is wild.
She
You
is
think
wild.
that she is unhinged on the podcast. You don't want to go to the movies with her.
100%.
Oh my God, my psychic assault continues week to week.
Drac doesn't want to go to the movies with you, but I do.
I'm saying the listeners might not want to go to the movies.
Oh.
Some of them will. Some of them won't.
That's fine. Ian, you want some Junior Mints?
Oh, absolutely.
You little movie friend.
Listen, for listeners at home, if anyone wants to find me at the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans viewing parties, I promise, if you want to get loud and you want to get crazy at a viewing party, come find me. I'm
Sit
ready.
next to her for
You
sure.
guys are in the Junior Mints Movie Club.
Oh my God.
Our crew is going to the movies tonight. Junior Mints out.
Sorry, Mom, I can't have family dinner tonight. I'm going to the movies with Swan.
It's a Junior Mints night.
No.
Oh, yes.
It's a thing.
All right, well, let's get back to the show. So we're talking everything the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans.
Oh my God. And let me just be the first to say on air, congratulations to the both of you for making it to this momentous
Thank you,
occasion.
darling. And congratulations to you as well.
Ooh, thank
Our
you.
success is yours after all.
Oh,
Who
thank
makes
you.
it happen, Tess? We do.
Okay, but I do just want to say, like, yes, the fake personality congratulations aside, like, this is actually a really big deal for, I know for me, for you both, for us as a team, like, this is crazy. Like, I remember when we first sat down and said, let's make the Boulet Brothers Dragula. Like, to think that now we are sitting here with our first Titan season, bringing back cast members from all 4 seasons of the show, and it's so deadly. Oh my God.
Thank you for the reminder, because I have to give that to myself from time to time.
You
'cause
should.
We know the work is engulfing and it's all consuming. We pour ourselves into it, but every now and then I'll have it's usually like a morning moment when my mind isn't flooded and befuddled with all of the problems and challenges of the day, where I'm like, you know what, bitch?
Oh.
We're cool.
Oh my God.
We're deadly. Like, we create something that I think the world and weirdos need. And when I look at it, I'm very proud of our team. I really am.
I am too. I feel like I am one of the weirdos who needs it. Like, Mama, there are times where I look at the show and I'm like, this is, to use that word, unhinged. And I am so thankful for it.
Well, that's something I think fans can look forward to, is that all of the things that make Dragula amazing, we lean in and we lean in really hard.
Oh, yeah.
We shall see if everyone else agrees, but I do want to say this here. We were talking the other day about what is making Titans feel so special. And for me, looking at where we're at in the season, I feel like it really feels like one of the truest callbacks to the original feeling of the party, or to the season 1 feeling of just irreverent humor and just amazing drag, but really, like, we're all just having fun. I know that you both had a blast filming this show.
Yeah, I think we lean into the irreverence.
Drag's like, no, cut.
Look, I'll tell you what, there have been other seasons of filming that have definitely hurt me to the core.
Psychic
and when
Don't
I
come
think
for season
psychic
3
damage,
like that.
and when I think about 3, I want to cry.
So did they.
Exactly. And they did. But no, this one was really fun, and irreverent is the word. That's one of my favorite words to describe what we do, because we just snub our nose about any expectation and we do what we want. And I think it shows in the final product. It's inspired and it's really fun.
All right, so let's talk about the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, right? Because we know everything, and the
Ooh.
audiences don't know anything yet. So let's give them a couple little tastes, little spoosh.
So let's begin at the beginning with one of the first major decisions we have to make, which is the cast.
Right, and casting this was probably the hardest decision, I would say, right?
Honestly, harder than I think any of us anticipated, because when we all sat down to talk about the cast for the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, I think we all were like, we have so many amazing stars. No matter what we do, it's going to be great. But we labored over the alchemy of this cast.
One of the most important things I think to remind audiences of is this. Just because you go home early in a season, it does not mean you're not a powerful drag artist. It's not a judgment on how developed you are or how great you are as a drag artist. A lot of times it's just weird placement and alchemy and luck that sends you home when you go home.
We see that every season of the show, and we also see that once or twice here, where there are some really powerful competitors who the challenge order falls a certain way, and we watch them like, not prepared for this challenge,
Yeah.
or ooh, just not their strength at that moment.
Also in the reverse too, where someone you might
yeah.
underestimate, and then just the stars align, and there's a moment that's created, and you're like, this is undeniably amazing. Like, this is so powerful. This person rose to the occasion, delivered, and kind of slayed in a way you might not have even thought possible.
Slay.
Yeah. So not everybody is from the top 3. That right? That would be the
Yes.
thing people would say. Well, the top 3 competitors from every season must be the most powerful. That is not the case. Like, there are really powerful, incredible drag artists that really didn't necessarily get a chance to show that on their season. And this Titan season will allow them to do that, I think.
There's also something that we allude to, and I think we've alluded to it more and more as the later seasons like have come out, like certainly season 4, and I think even in Resurrection to a degree, which is this mantra that we kind of follow as producers and as judges and as mentors, if I will, that everything counts. Not just what you do on the challenge, not just what you do during the floor show. What's your behavior like in the boudoir? How respectful are you to the crew? Like, are you a professional? What do you do after your season? And how well do you carry the weight of being in the public eye or not? And I think all of these things really add up to, like, this person has what it takes to be someone that we want to revisit over and over again. They're creative, they're prolific, they're professional, and they deserve more.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, there's also the notion of some people aren't in the right space at this time.
Right.
So the
Yes.
opportunity has presented itself now, and you might be an incredible drag artist, but this might not be the right time for you. And I know there's a lot of people that wanted to be on that didn't end up making it. And, you know, part of it is to protect them, right? Because you can say, I don't think this person's in the right headspace right now, and I don't want them to come on and have it be a disaster for them. Or I know so-and-so and so-and-so is going to be here. So if I bring in them and they clash with them and ends up making them look bad or whatever it might be, I don't want to bring someone on and have them have a terrible time, you know?
It's interesting that you bring that up because there were some very hard decisions on the road to what became our final cast. And I think that there are some monsters who I'm hoping we will see them again. But I look back on those decisions and I think we made the right ones time and time again. I think that seeing the way that this cast came together and who may have been included in that and like the first pass, I'm like, we made the right decision. Let's keep those monsters chomping at the bit a little bit before we bring them back.
You can't win either, right? Because if you're like, oh, well, this person feels hurt because you all didn't pick them, right? But what if you had put them on and it was a disaster? Then they would be upset with you too. There's no winning, you know? You just have to go with your gut and what you think morally is the best thing to do. And hope for the best, darling.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Individual performances on a team challenge.
Well, the looks kind of do matter.
Yeah, so I don't know. There are a lot of things. So, right, there's like, what's your mental state? There's also sort of like, where are you at even financially? We just got through a pandemic. Like, everybody's not like rolling in dough at the moment. And it's expensive to go on a show like this, no matter what. As much as we encourage people to say, look, make your own stuff. But there's still a lot of considerations you have to think about. Like, you're leaving your house for a long period of time. There's just a lot to it.
Sure.
It's expensive to go on a show like this.
Totally. Well, there's also something to be said of where is this person in their drag career or their drag trajectory. And I think we'll get into this more when we talk about them individually. But I think about someone like Eva, who after their season really went through a massive drag transformation. And the Eva that we see visually on the show is so antithetical to, I think, the Eva that people are expecting to see.
And I love it.
Ooh,
like
we love
we've
to
seen that
see it.
over and over, that competitors come on the show and they kind of re-enter the regular world, the mundane world, and they go through that personal transformation. I do think that there's an aspect of the show which is facing your fears and kind of stripping away all of the things that are kind of unnecessary, I'll say, and just going out and being truer to the core of who you are, like in the aftermath of being in the competition, is just such an amazing thing to watch happen.
There is no scarier extermination to face than the public eye, right? By being on the show. That's the scariest risk you take, is to put yourself in front of all these people all over the world who will judge you harshly and let you know all about it on social media.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather jump out of a plane than go on Twitter any day of the week. And that's the truth.
Sorry, you guys, I can't do this.
But speaking of each competitor, why don't we go through the list of all of our Titans and talk about what made us pick them?
Ooh. Let's begin at the beginning. Season 1. I think we only have one monster representing from season
our
1.
sole competitor.
Our sole survivor of season 1. Melissa Be Fierce.
Melissa.
The mother
Of
the
the
house of Be Fierce, darling. Yes.
So here's
Oh
my
my
2 cents on
God.
Melissa. You all will have your different opinions. I love Melissa. Melissa has always been a straight shooter. I click with people like that the best. I could be like, Melissa, do you like this? No. Do you like this?
Yep.
Yes. And she's always friendly and respectful, but also will let you know what she's thinking. I love that. I also think she's a lot of fun, and I don't think people got to see that on season 1. I've always been excited to bring her back and let people see how fun she is backstage and when you're with her at a club and things like that. I also think that her interpretation of the challenges on season 1 was a little off, and the reason why is because a season of Dragula had not been out yet.
It was the Wild West.
Yeah, she had nothing to reference. So I felt like she was a little bit at a disadvantage. I mean, they all were, but I think now, knowing the show, watching it, I feel like she has the opportunity to come back in a completely different mindset.
Yeah. I think Melissa also is one of those characters that is truly themselves to the core. It's like no matter what environment you put Melissa in, you will get a little bit of Be Fierce in it, sort of no matter what. And I think audience members will learn and fans will kind of get reminded that she is badass, she is formidable, she is beautiful, she's deadly, she's exciting, and I'm really excited to see how fans react to her because Melissa was on Dragula the longest time ago. So it's going to be, I think, exciting for everyone.
For me, I am going to mirror the sentiment. I love Melissa. Melissa is amazing. She's an incredible drag artist. She is a deadly performer, and everything that Swan said true. And you can also always count, Mama, there's gonna be a rhinestone. There will always be a rhinestone. There will always be a dip. There will always be a death drop. And what I really love about Melissa, and I'm excited for fans to see who may have not seen season 1 or who may not be familiar with her, Melissa coined the filth finale. Like, Mama,
Still to this day, in my opinion, the best
Unbeaten.
filth finale.
unreal. I mean, I still get chills when I think about when we filmed that day and just seeing her do that performance, and the blasphemy of it was so wild, which I also gotta say, I love a thinking drag artist who came and said, well, what do I want to show people for my Meet Our Monsters promo? Boom. It's a direct reference to her most iconic moment from the show.
Yeah.
Very smart.
The last thing I want to say about Melissa that I want to add is like we were fans of Melissa before we even did Dragula. Like we would see Melissa out at Mickey's or whatever, and she had these she was just incredible. She is a quintessential drag artist, in my opinion.
Weatherby and Hoochie Bitch at Mickey's. I can't remember drag. They do like different cycles of this drag pageant. I think Melissa won the first year. She has this iconic performance to Weatherby and Hoochie Bitch. Google it now. Thank me later. It is amazing.
Love it. All right, so let's move on to season 2. Miss Erica Class.
Oh, the extermination destroyer.
Yes. So, okay. For me, Erica came on season 2, and she has a very distinct kind of video game, look to her. And I always wanted Erica to sort of take that and merge it with the Dragula aesthetic. And I always reference like, a Pac-Man ghost or something. So you're still in the world, but you're still your video game self.
Yes.
And I don't feel like that clicked while she was on the show. It absolutely did click after she got off the show. An example of what you were talking about.
Exactly.
So I've always wanted to see her come back with that knowledge and attempt the competition again.
Oh yeah. In her words, she is the glitch who is here to fuck up your cartridge. I love it. It's so cute.
That is awesome. I don't know if I've ever heard her say that.
Yeah. Erica is one of those people who I love and respect Erica because I feel like when Erica auditioned for season 2, she saw the power of Dragula and she said, I want to be in on this. And even when the odds were stacked against her, she was always there saying, oh, what do I have to do? Piercings, bring it on. And that is Dragula energy to me.
100%. I want to send a special little love letter right here, right now to all of the monsters that made it to season 2 because I feel like they saw what we were trying to create. Like they saw our vision before the rest of the world has. Now, we have multiple seasons and all the things that are coming for what we created. But I think it was a special moment in time to say, hey, this show that I found, I want to put myself out there. And it took a lot of trust, and they showed us a lot of trust in what they create and what they do. So I have a lot of respect for season 2. And I love Erica for all those reasons. Like she's like super fearless, really colorful, kind of bends the Dragula aesthetic in a way that's unexpected. And it's exciting because you'd think with that kind of cute candy exterior, there wouldn't be something like gooey and scary and strong on the inside. But we've learned over and over and over again that Erica is nasty.
One last thing on Erica that I will say. When we say Gagula, Mama Gagula. And I also want to say Erica is the vomit queen of the show.
She really is.
Oh my God.
And she uses it to her advantage, like a cooldown power.
It's true.
One of her cooldowns.
No, it really is.
Yeah, if Erica
100%.
If Erica is a Pokemon, I feel like she may be like, oh, like I'm a fairy type or I'm a ghost. I'm like, that is poison, Mama. Vomit spray level 100.
Totally.
Get into it.
We have face stealers, we have shapeshifters, we have werewolves, we have vampires, and now we have a candy queen who can projectile vomit.
That's right. All right, so let's move on to the only person I know from this show who knows how to cobble a shoe, Kendra Onyx.
Yes.
Cobbling shoes in season 2.
Everybody knows we love Kendra, right?
Everybody knows we
like,
love Kendra.
Yeah, Kendra is so fun. Like on season 2, Kendra brought a lot of comedy and fun. She's so direct and matter of fact, but she's friendly and has a fun nature about her. When she was in the boudoir and she was just like, there's a lot of grass out there to roll around. Like she checked everybody right then and they were all like, I don't want it. I don't want the smoke. They're like, I'm not into it. And she's like, okay, good. We're good then.
And she always
Of course,
needs to know
except for Victoria. But I don't even think she knew she was asking for the smoke.
No, definitely not. I mean, Kendra is such a good time ghoul.
Yep.
Kendra is one of those people who, we've talked about this before. I mean, I think we talked about in the last episode, if it was going to be a Last Supper and who do we invite back, Kendra Onyx would absolutely be at that table. Kendra is fun. She is fearless. She's funny. And she can burn the stage down.
Let's take a note from the Dragula World Tour. When we stopped in Los Angeles, Kendra was our guest performer here, and she lit the stage on fire.
That's right.
You know,
Unbelievable.
So if you ever have doubts about who, what, where, and why we do what we do as far as cast goes, you need to like look at the history and look at what these performers do in their own communities, because Kendra is a level 10 performer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she's fun. She's matter of fact. She tells you what she thinks. She's an incredible performer, and she probably is the most memeable competitor in my opinion. You know, like she has so
Totally.
many funny catch lines and phrases, and people will just have to see it and know, but they'll look back and know. Toilet bowl.
Toilet bowl.
You will know what we mean soon
Sucking
enough.
the devil's dick hot.
Okay, we say, why do we bring back the competitors that we do? Kendra is an example of someone who did not get to show their strengths on their season. That's what I
Yes.
think. And I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for her to come back and show her performance skill and let people know that she is a Dragula Titan.
Absolutely.
One last thing on Kendra. She showed this to us in Resurrection, but one thing I love about Kendra is she is our crying queen with a heart of gold.
Yeah,
That is
it's
a
true.
sweet, soft soul who will fucking read you the house down if you check her.
It's true. All right, so let's move on to Victoria Black.
She's knocking.
She's knocking, and we have opened the door.
Yes,
She's
we
been
have.
The
standing
gates to
there
hell,
knocking for
Mama.
5 years, and we finally opened the door.
Yes.
Victoria, welcome in. We don't have to say why is Victoria on a season of Titans. We don't have to say why, you know?
Yeah, Victoria did an amazing job as a competitor on season 2, making it to the finals, and she had tons of fans that saw what she brought to the arena of drag, which is very unique. I don't even know if I could think of any other drag performers like worldwide who have the level of like expertise in the world of like prosthetics and special effects makeup that Victoria does.
Right.
I think we literally said on Resurrection that she is a Titan.
Right.
Absolutely. What I love about Victoria is I feel like there are drag artists who are really influential in the world. I mean, hi, I'm sitting in the room with 2 of them right now. And yes, but I feel like Victoria brings a level of special effects artistry and expertise to the table that really, I think, pushes everyone else around her to say, I have to step up my skill level to compete, which I love. I really appreciate an artist who comes in and Victoria knows she bad.
Yeah.
And I
Like
love her for
literally
that.
her reputation precede her.
Yeah.
She walks in the room and there's like a ripple of either like, she's the bitch I need to take down,
Yeah.
and half the room is like, time to go home.
But also, Victoria is, and for people who have not been to a show of Victoria's or who haven't really interacted with her, Victoria is really cool. We toured with her. She's always very easy to work with. And like we said, like everything that you do as a competitor counts. When we toured with her, that was the thing I feel like we looked back on and we said, would we want to have Victoria back? She's super deadly. She's super talented, and she's a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think we knew who she was on season 2. It was really hard to get a solid grasp of what her personality was. And we talked about that so many times, even when we, did our little meeting with each of them before the finale. That's one of the things we said to her is we're like, we can't tell what your motivation is or how you feel about us or the show or anything. And I feel like we've really learned who she is since that time, touring with her, like you said, and doing Resurrection and everything. Like, I think she's also just developed as an artist to a level that few other drag artists could probably achieve. And I'm excited to welcome her back and let people see that.
Of course, it's exciting. We didn't get to see a ton of like who Victoria was on their season. And I think that for anyone listening that wants to be on future seasons of the show, you must show your personality. You must find ways to share who you are on camera, non-edited, just be yourself. That comes through so much when we sit down and we look at all the footage in post-production where we really build the show. It is clear as the light coming through the window. Like you're either shining with who you are or you're trying to like hide yourself. And if you hide yourself, it's so false. It's so hollow. It just, you won't make it on the show.
I even think if you're awkward on camera or if you're uncomfortable or if you're nervous or whatever it is, don't hide those things.
That's you.
Yes, that has a place on the show. Absolutely. You cannot cast 10 of the same people. It'll be boring. Like, we want to see your flaws or the things that make you interesting or that make you a different person,
Yeah, this is kind of leading me into one of the many things that I love about the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, which is we get to see all of these monsters coming back and competing and also showing off their personality in this new alchemy. And one thing that I won't spoil it, but I feel like Victoria absolutely has a chance to show her personality this season, and it's so fun to watch.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the knows who knows, Miss Abhora. Yeah! I think it surprises no one that Abhora is back, right? I mean, Abhora is a fan favorite. Abhora is a Team Boulet favorite.
Yeah. Abhora is an amazing artist. Abhora has like a very original perspective. You love her or you hate her, or between you and I, a little bit of both. Like, she's the only competitor who's both won a challenge and been put up for extermination for the exact same challenge.
Yep.
It is Abhora, our chaos goblin.
Yeah. I mean, I think Abhora has grown so much since her season, not only as a drag artist, but as a person.
Yeah.
I think they went through a lot of challenges and developed a lot. And I'm just excited to give her the opportunity to show what she's got. Because, I mean, honestly, I don't see many other drag artists. Actually, let me repeat that. I don't see any drag artists out there like her. And I remember when her season was coming out and the show wasn't as big as it is now, other drag artists that were much more famous than her were literally borrowing her looks from the show.
Because she's visually, she's a genius.
Exactly. It's like, so the chance to be able to bring someone back like that and give them the opportunity to show their work again, it's a pleasure. I'm happy to do it.
Me too. I'm really glad to hear you say that too, because we've fought about Abhora like
we
time
did.
and again.
I've never fought you about Abhora's artistic ability or my fondness for her. What I fought you about was during the Gothic wedding, the sloppiness with which she delivered her performance. And that's really what it was about.
Yeah. And I think this just speaks to our natures, because I think a little of like chaotic curveballs and like the unknown and sort of going with the flow is my wheelhouse, and like order and structure and precision is your wheelhouse.
It was hard during that episode to watch because you could feel the tension in the air that all of the competitors were putting their best foot forward during that moment.
Really
remember?
intense that
and
day.
And so I'm looking at Disasterina, I'm looking at James, I'm looking at everyone, and Victoria that kind of sort of came before her, and how much they put into their looks and how perfect they were delivering everything, that it was hard to appreciate that sort of chaos that Abhora brought in the moment, because it was the disrespect.
Well, again, our natures, because the message being upside down, fire, and just like rolling around. I mean, these are the things I was seeing something that none of the other competitors had shown me that day, which was like this unbridled, chaotic energy of like maybe hating someone or loving them or like kind of loving them to death. So, there was messaging that was sort of tapping into the challenge for me in a way that was exciting that I didn't see anywhere else.
It was very punk, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and to just kind of maybe bring this back to like reasons why we love Abhora and why she is absolutely a part of the show, that chaos factor Abhora has in spades. Like, when I think about the competitors on the show, I often go to how are they in a live performance capacity? Because, that's where after the show, they're going to go perform live, whether it's on Twitch or on tour with us. We see them and they are seen by the world in a live performance capacity. And just like if you haven't seen Weather Beaten Hoochie Bitch Melissa, you should go Google Abhora's It's a Small World performance.
Yeah.
It was featured in her audition tape. She took it on tour with us in the UK. That performance is legitimately terrifying and fucking so epic. It's one of the coolest drag performances I've ever seen. It brought chills every night she did it on tour, not only because it's so electrifying, but also that is a whirling dervish on stilts.
Danger, it's crazy.
Gonna destroy something in the club, and I love it.
Yeah, it brings a danger to drag that you don't see very often.
Absolutely.
In contemporary drag, at least. You
Absolutely.
know? That'll be very exciting for people to see.
For sure. Well, we are halfway through the cast of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, and before we go any further, we are going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will be sharing our thoughts on the rest of the cast. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are discussing the stars of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans and why we cast each of them. So we're going to move on right now to our season 3 monsters, starting with the one and only Eva Destruction.
Ooh, the self-proclaimed crybaby queen of season 3, now back werewolfed, hairy, and monstrous.
Yeah.
And the new No Tears formula.
Yes. The new and improved No Tears formula.
Baby cares, No
my
Tears
gosh.
formula. Back when we cast Eva on season 3, she was one of those drag artists who had never been on a reality TV show before, but have reached a certain level of fame without that, regardless, right?
100%.
Yeah, I felt like when we first had her on the show, we were happy to have her on, honestly. She was like one of those sort of iconic drag performers that you would see.
Self-generated star power who already had momentum with their own work, like on their own merit.
Absolutely. And so I feel like she came on and it was an eye-opening experience for her. I think she sort of had a lot of look in the mirror, who are you kind of moments. And I think by the time her time was finished there and she came to the reunion and even the time after that, she completely transformed as a drag artist.
Absolutely.
And became a lot more powerful, a lot more self-realized, and a lot more comfortable with who she was. And I mean, immediately, even the first month after we filmed, I was like, God, I would love to have her back on now.
Mhm.
And so here we are.
Here we are. I mean, I think I've made jokes about Swanthula as a drama club before, but my personal history is kind of steeped in a lot of theater and stage acting and dramatic arts, and that's what I take into drag, and that's what I love and appreciate the most about experiencing drag. I think there's tons of ways to experience drag, but my personal favorite is the good old-fashioned, like, live on-stage experience.
You're a play queen.
I am a play queen.
Yes,
I'm
play
a stage
queen.
queen. I'm a play queen. I'm a drama queen. And kind of like no one really understands that more or better than Eva. Like Eva knows that she's on stage. Eva knows that she's giving a show, and it is just a joy to watch over and over and over again.
I also think part of the reason I wanted to bring her back as well, and I know we all agree on this, is that I felt like she got really run over in season 3.
Yeah, I think that she got talked over a lot. I think that, and I've known Eva for a long time. Like, even before she was on the show, I've known Eva. And she has a lot of opinions, and I feel like when season 3 came around, there were some personalities in the room that just steamrolled her.
Yeah.
What do you guys mean?
She was
Well, maybe
afraid-
Hawaiian punched her.
She was afraid. She was afraid to say anything that was even outside of the accepted box that had been presented to the cast, you know?
Sure.
And I think she regretted that. I mean, I know she regretted that, actually, because she told me she did. And so I thought, wow, this is an opportunity for her to come back and kind of show how much she's grown, but also finally show people who she actually is and to not cry.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, for me, I look at our competitors across all 4 seasons as each one is totally unique. Like Eva Destruction is not the same as any other character on the show, as Monique Shame is not the same as any other character on the show. But I do think that there are certain archetypes that characters may fall into. And when I look at Eva, I look at her as this archetypal character who is like so together, so polished, and loves drag. And you can see it in everything that she does. She is like, every little detail is always finished, and she's an incredible performer. Like you said, Swan, she is a member of Swan's Drama Club, and when she hits the stage, there is no T left uncrossed, no I left undotted.
What about her vacuum shows during the pandemic?
Do not come for Eva's in front of the dryer fantasy.
No, that was a refrigerator, wasn't it?
I thought it was her. I thought it was like the washer dryer combo room.
She was getting her life in front of the fridge and mopping. She was like, anything that she could find in her house, she was like, this is a digital drag show. I'm in the shower. What's up?
Oh, totally. And this is also a total side note. There is no bigger Lady Gaga stan than Eva, and I can queen out with her, and I love that.
Oh, I saw a picture that Victoria posted that was her, and she was like, most incredible moment of my life. And she was at the Gaga show.
I know. I was like, oh my God, she is coming for Eva's wig.
I think Eva came on to season 3 with tons of fans, and she's only gotten more and more, and she only stands to gain more and more after this season as well.
So let's move on to another cast member from season 3 that I think is one of the most unsung characters from Dragula history, which is Yovska.
Right. When you talk about someone with a lot of fans, Yovska has a huge following online.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's my feelings about Yovska. I think Yovska is an incredible drag artist. And when we first cast her on season 3, I was like, I was excited. I know you were too, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I remember specifically right around that period where we were kind of zeroing in on wanting Yovska on the show and like having that saying like, it's done, like it's contracted, it's happening. I was like so excited because Yovska's one of those artists that push the boundaries of what people think drag is. Right. Or what people think drag can be. And I just love mind-bending like artists like that who think outside the box and just think outside the body and think outside a humanoid shape.
Yeah, the changing of the shape of the physical form, I think, is one of the most interesting things that she does. And again, she's sort of this generation in the sense that she's very digital in her performance, right? She's very twitchy. I'm going to live stream. I'm this and that. She does perform live, but not as much as some of the other competitors do, which I think is fine. I mean, I think there's a huge place for that sort of drag now.
Totally. Well, she's also one of our only drag cryptids, which I love. I think that when Yovska came onto the show in season 3, the term drag cryptid was sort of a funny, like, oh, that's how she identifies as like a cryptid. But now we see that style of drag being emulated more and more with other drag artists who, I mean, I'm like, look at the blueprint here. Like, Yovska,
thanks to like the Boulet Brothers Dragula, the competitors and the way that they presented themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think Abhora has a toe in that pool.
Oh, yeah.
I think Hoso certainly like swerves right in there.
The queen mother of the
house. The queen mother, darling.
Yeah, Yovska's our only Canadian queen that would be on the show. It's exciting to have someone come back and, again, explore those kind of strange outer limits of what drag can be.
She was another person who I feel like was on season 3 and was very like, let me mind my P's and Q's and be extremely politically correct, because that was the sort of environment that she was in. I felt like after her season, we had her on the podcast and stuff, and I was like, oh, you are completely different.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, she's much spicier than she was on the show, and she's very fun.
She is fun.
Like, people who are like expressive in the moment, like there are some of those kind of memed moments and moments that I've seen just kind of like put in little GIFs online where Madeline and Hollow are like stapling themselves, and she like gives a little head turn and like a barf. Yeah, like that weird like barf like motion is so funny to me. I think Yovska's filled with barf moments. Like, it's a lot of fun little exclamations like that.
Remember, she joined us for the season 4 tour as a guest in Buffalo. And the way the cast reacted, because I was like, oh, Yovska's going to be there. And I don't know what all the competitors, their drama and how they know each other. I don't know anything about any of that because it's annoying. But, you know, I was like, oh, Yovska's going to be there. And they were all like, they're like, she's
how's that
shady. Oh, my God, what are you going to do? Are you going to talk to her? And I was like, Oh my God, now I love Yosuke even more. I was like, y'all are scared? I was like, fierce.
And of
Yes.
course, as she arrived, I made sure I went down to their green.
You did.
I made sure I went down to their green room by myself, and I was like, "Hello, everyone!" And all heads turned, eyes turned to me, and I'm like, "Yosuke, welcome to the show." They were all very scared of you coming here because you are so shady and so nasty, and I just need you to know that right up front. Have a great show.
Drama grenade.
Amazing.
But I think we all had a lot of fun. The rest of the cast had a lot of fun with Yosuke in Buffalo. And I think fans are going to have a lot of fun with Yosuke on this Titan season.
Absolutely. I think Yosuke is an incredible addition to the cast and also gave one of my favorite promo ideas, having that sort of removable face and the like dead body underneath inside the teddy bear. I'm like, this is a literal nightmare.
Teddy Ruxpin Nightmare 5000.
Well, this conversation's a load of crap and it's a load of shit, and it's time to talk about Astrid.
Yes!
Boulet Brothers Dragula season 4. I am not mad at you all for stopping this podcast.
I'm mad at myself for letting you control the podcast.
Wow.
So here we are. Astrid came in hot on the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 4.
And went out hotter.
Came in hot, went out hotter. Bloop,
Yeah.
bloop, right in and out.
Yeah, but a classic example of someone who may not have had a lot of time on their season, but you could tell there was a lot more of an artist to see underneath the meltdown and underneath the couple of drag looks that we actually got to see. And I think they made such a huge impact on season 4. So I don't think people are going to be surprised or upset to see Astrid as part of the cast of Titans.
I thought Astrid was going to go very far, and we said that during the
Oh, yeah.
reunion on season 4. Like, all of her musical abilities, and I was just like, this person has a lot of talent. And I've seen a lot of videos of them performing, and she did like Alaska's pageant.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the show she did was really incredible, and I was like, this person's going to be amazing. And then she sort of self-sabotaged, melted down, and that's the type of person who absolutely you're like, this person should be on again.
Totally. And
Because I hope they freak out again. You know,
Wouldn't that be amazing?
and we talk about the competitors who have really transformed and seeing, kind of a different version of this character visually on the show. Astrid is 100% in that category. When she came on season 4, very much as a term that she and I have thrown back and forth in a loving way, punk rock fashion lady,
Yeah.
versus now on the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans, we see this sort of fully formed dark fantasy lizard dragon creature. I mean, you can see in her promo, she's got swords and
or on
there's
her Twitter.
well, I mean, her Twitter's a different case. Mama Cloaca, honey.
We always encourage our competitors to share who they really are on the show and not hide things. But I do think there are some things that they should hide.
Sometimes less is more.
Oh, my God.
I'm excited for people to see Astrid again.
Me too.
I think some people, know Astrid for having a great look and then having a complete meltdown. And I think there's a lot more to them. And so hopefully people will see that this
Yeah,
season.
well, the bloodline is also very powerful because Dali is Astrid's drag parent, I'll say,
Yeah.
and, a lot of influence there. So there was obviously a lot more to see from Astrid, and people will get to see that on this season.
Probably, too, they went home to Arizona and like a good parent, Dolly berated Astrid and, beat her up a little bit, slapped her around a little bit, got her together. And she's like, okay, now you go back on there and you show them what I taught you.
Yeah, you go show them. So let's.
And if you get mad, count to 10 and then you'll forget about it.
And let
So-
it all begin again.
So let's move on to another Monstar from season 4 who has a little bit more to show. The icon, Coco
The
Kane.
icon.
Yes, icon.
What can you say about Coco? You don't have to explain why Coco's on a season of Titans. Like, I think Coco is obviously a Titan, right?
Yeah.
They didn't make it super far on their season due to an unfortunate circumstance. But, but I think that they showed that they had a lot more to say and do
Yeah.
when it came time for the reunion.
The star power is undeniable. And I think the only drag monster to date who actually won the reunion
Last Supper.
in the Last Supper. You won the Last Supper, bitch, and that's not even a challenge, okay?
Truly. I mean, I never claim to know what goes on in any of our competitors' heads at any given moment because, I'm not a mind reader. I'm not that crazy. Well, maybe a little bit. Maybe not.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Right. But I remember when Coco came to the Last Supper, I was talking to her. I was like, how are you feeling today? She goes, oh, I'm good. I'm ready. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, well, I've missed you on set. It's really good to see you. And I don't think any of us were ready for the level of just wig snatch.
In
that
fact,
she
I'd
delivered.
heard somebody has mentioned that they thought that was pre-planned, and I assure you, it absolutely was not.
It's moments like that I love working on the Boulet Brothers Dragula in terms of the production, because you can really never predict what's going to happen.
No.
And I feel like I was sitting there, I was like, I feel like I'm watching TV right now.
Oh, yeah.
I am literally watching this unfold like, mama, my wig adjusted.
How do you think we felt? We're sitting there with the cue cards. I'm like, I have no idea what's about to happen. Get me out of here.
Not me. I was like, oh, yes, bitch. I didn't see this
I
coming
just didn't
at
expect it. I
all.
didn't
Yeah.
know that was there. I didn't know how relationships had developed since Coco was exterminated. But here's the thing about Coco that I don't know if people at home know, because we can't show everything from the show. It's just impossible. And we're on set all the time. As you know, we're executive producers on the show. So when we're not there in drag, we're there all the time. And every time I would come to the set, I would see Coco with a bunch of weird materials that they just found and suddenly creating an outfit out of it.
Literally would make an outfit in 3 hours. We're like, I have a garment.
Yeah, I was so impressed. Like the Last Supper outfit, Coco made that in a few hours on set while they were just waiting around. And that really impressed me. Like, I love someone that can make their own drag like that.
Totally. Coco is insanely talented. And I feel like one of the things that really drew me to wanting to put her into the ring for Titans was the way that Coco handled themselves on social media after the show. There were so many times where we would see images or videos or the iconic TikToks of Coco, and I'd be like, this person is a motherfucking celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, just so cool and iconic, and really a fresh face in drag.
And
Absolutely.
the looks, like on Instagram, just look after look after look after look. And I'm like, I'm impressed.
I love, capital LOVE, love the gender play too, because sometimes it was like it's hypersexualized male presenting, hypersexualized female presenting, and I love, again, like rule bending, like these, I use rule with air quotes because there really are no rules in drag, but definitely someone who's flexing the way that they present themselves, and it's unexpected and just cool.
So last but not least, we have Lil Hosie May.
Yeah.
Lil Hosie May.
Hoso Teratoma.
Our little terror, Hoso Teratoma.
Fresh off the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 4 World Tour.
Yes, and for that reason alone, I think Hoso has a deep level of respect from the three of us, because we were all touring the U.S. at the same time.
And the UK.
Yeah, and we were doing, Drac and Ian and myself, we were basically doing like pre-production on this show while we were touring. So we were pretty much doing 2 full-time jobs. But in the interim, we know that Hoso got that casting call and clearly accepted it, but none of us talked about it.
Yep.
We existed on that tour bus and did show after show, 40 shows, and we did not talk about that because that would have been unprofessional. And
I think so too.
that would have been a little bit of a transgression against the NDA, given that we were on tour with 3 other competitors who we could not tell.
That was one thing. I remember I got a call from one of the producers who had spoken to Hoso directly about their inclusion on the cast. And so I knew at that point Hoso had gotten the call, and we interacted several times. I mean, there were still maybe another 2 weeks of shows we were still doing.
Yeah.
And she never mentioned it once. And I took that as a feather in her cap. I
Me
was
too.
like, wow, it takes a really just strong and professional and just really like someone who has their eye on the prize type of competitor to think, I need to focus on this. Like, there's not time to kiki, not even a ooh, like a little here or there. It was like, nope, just doing show after show. And as we now know, staying up every night in her bunk, sketching outfits, working to get ready.
The type of girl who
impressive.
keeps it professional. The type of girl who brings her own makeup wipes.
That's
The type
right.
of girl who carries her own bags. Honestly, all the stuff
Yeah.
that we were concerned about at the end of season 4 from what we had seen on set, that professionalism was completely 100% dispelled from the experience of touring, because Hoso was just nothing but professional, delivered killer shows every night.
Absolutely.
Like the crowds were screaming.
The screaming
You guys
her name.
know.
Oh, yeah.
You all know it. By the end of the shows, they were screaming Hoso's name, and people were questioning whether or not they had enough time to evolve. And I think the thing about Hoso, the very interesting thing about their particular story, is that being so young and given their circumstances and their health issues and just like the critical, vital way they live their life, I think Hoso has tons of artwork to show, and there is a wealth and a huge overflowing well of creativity that we could put Hoso on another season, I feel like we would see tons of drag we've never seen before.
Yeah, I think people at home think, well, has there been enough time? Like, the top 4 from season 4 went all the way up to the end, obviously, and then immediately went on tour and have been on tour since then. And I get that thought, but I feel like in Hoso's case, it just feels correct.
Totally.
Yeah.
To quote something that Hoso has said to me before, if you look at her drag from season 4 as the drag yokai, Hoso in Titans is the drag kaiju. This is the evolution. This is the 3rd stage. Like, Hoso comes onto this season as a motherfucking monster.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
super exciting.
It's also the alchemy of the combination, right? And I feel like the cast that we have, Hoso just sort of belongs with this cast, and there's a lot of interesting crossovers there that I think will develop in a fun way for audiences to see.
Speaking of developments and fun, there are some things that kind of uniquely happen on this season that we've not really seen before on the show. Namely, number 1, we kind of have someone who quits.
Oh, we're going to say it.
Oh, you're gonna.
Oh my
okay.
God. Okay. Holy shit.
We also have a budding love triangle that turns out to be kind of a Bermuda love triangle, if you ask me.
Someone certainly falls in and never reemerges. That's true.
Yeah, and I think there's just, like, when we said it earlier in the podcast, I'm going to say it again. There's so many twists and turns, and it's unscripted and unproduced. Like, we kind of ride that chaos, and that's part of the magic of creating another season of the Boulet Brothers Dragula. And this season is all of that chaos and all of those surprises, but on a Titans level.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's weird. People produce reality shows in different ways, and, we don't manufacture drama, That doesn't mean we don't encourage people to speak up or to say things or do stuff like that, because obviously you have to do that and remind people, hey, I need you to live in this world that you're existing in. But we don't say, hey, let's make up this and then go fight someone about it or have a problem with someone over something that's not real. Like, that does not happen on our show.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
doesn't. I think that there are so many twists and turns this season, and the combination of these characters together is so explosive. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I believe it to be the best season we've produced to date.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I am going to back you up on that, not only for the twists and turns, for the explosive drama. I mean, my God, I cannot believe you invoked some of the drama that's going to happen, but I can't wait for people to see it. But there are also just some moments where, we make the show and we can do whatever the fuck we want. And there's some like fun, sort of almost like wish fulfillment that happens from our team of like, we want to see the best challenges. We want to see the best drag we can. So what do we want? And I think that is reflected time and time again in the type of challenges that people will see. And some of the choices that get made in terms of like what we have the competitors do. It is so fun.
Also,
I
the
love
guest
it.
judges, too. Like, some of
my
the guest
God.
judges really fulfill the Dragula wish list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're like,
absolutely.
wow, this like really came to fruition. Like, we got that.
Yeah, I mean, having Elvira on the show, Joe Bob Briggs, like these are horror legends.
Having Harvey Guillen back again, because honestly, I didn't give him enough love and accolades the first time. I was so happy to have him back on set again.
Yeah, there's so many. Even Barbara Crampton. Like, there's so many legendary figures from horror and the worlds of drag.
Poppy's back. Alaska's back. Like, it was
Katya's
kind of
there.
great to see Alaska again.
Totally.
On the show.
For sure.
Swantula, bring me the axe.
So, yeah, I mean, so let's talk a little bit about what they're going to win this season, right? So, obviously, they win $100,000.
The winner of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans will win a $100,000 grand prize, courtesy of us. Will headline the upcoming Dragula World Tour and win the title of Dragula, the world's first drag super monster titan.
Yeah, so they're going to win. They're going to be the first person to win the title of Titan. So it's exciting. They're going to win a lot, right? They're going to go on tour. They're going to win $100,000, and they're going to be the first person to win the title of Titan.
And when does it all start, Drac?
It starts on October 25th. So let's talk about this a little bit, right?
Ooh, like put it to rest.
Yeah,
mama.
because it's, streamers are different than network TV. So network TV, you could be like, I'm coming out at 9 o'clock, and that's 9 o'clock everywhere, no matter what coast you're on, no matter what. Well, that's not how streamers work, as we all should know by now. And if we don't, then we have problems. But
Get into it, yeah.
yeah, so the show will come out at midnight on the East Coast on October 25th. What does that mean? That means if you're on the East Coast and you stay up on the night of Monday the 24th until midnight the show will come out. And that means if you're on the West Coast, it's going to come out at 9 p.m. on the 24th. So Monday at 9 p.m., you can watch the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans episode 1
on Shudder and on AMC Plus.
Yes, it's gonna come out on Shudder and AMC Plus at the same time. The reason I'm specifying this is for viewing parties, because the production company gets lots of emails from people, and so does the network, about doing viewing parties. And how do I do a viewing party? What time is it coming out? So that's when it's coming out for everybody, so that you understand. I think we kind of drilled that into people's head last year, but just reiterating it again.
Yeah, and just, we all live in the same world with the same kind of streaming services. I watch a lot of reality television personally in my private life, and sometimes the fucking show comes out right on the dot, and sometimes it's 7 minutes later. Yeah. And if you're really in for a hellish kind of night, sometimes it'll be like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It's not just us.
Hour and a half.
Yeah, it's not just us. But
it's just the nature of streaming.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're planning a viewing party on the night it comes out, maybe on the East Coast, it's late, but start it at 1. If you're on the West Coast, start it at 10 p.m. And
have a good host.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do your job.
Stay open late, diva.
Yeah, I encourage people to do viewing parties. It's not the best for streaming numbers, but I like it because I think it builds a sense of community.
Yeah.
And especially with the message of our show, which is, hey, there's people out there in a community for everybody. And a lot of people, I think, watch our show that feel like they're a freak or an outcast and they don't have a lot of people to relate to. The viewing party is a great place to come and meet other like-minded people.
That's right. Join together with the other members of your city's coven.
Yeah. So I definitely want to encourage people to do viewing parties.
And tag us. Tag the Boulet Brothers Dragula. Tag the Boulet Brothers so that we know when the covens gather coast to coast and worldwide. We love to see it.
It was one of my favorite things, getting tagged and seeing the videos of all the viewing parties and people reacting to the show. I love that.
It's so cool to see the viewing parties, especially to see other monsters from other seasons who had the viewing parties for season 4. Like, if you go to a viewing party and you're seeing a show in your hometown, tag the show, tag the Boulets. We love to see it.
Set one up. You don't have to do them at bars and clubs either. I noticed that people were having them in like bookstores and coffee shops too, which I think is kind of neat for viewers that can't go to bars and clubs.
That is cool.
Yeah,
Locker
I think
rooms,
so too.
Girl, get into it.
Locker rooms.
And
was there a viewing party in a locker room, Ian? Or do you want there to be
He
one?
wasn't watching the video.
I am manifesting it, mama. Find me in your local locker room.
Yeah, so not only do viewing parties, but definitely attend them. Even if you watch the show at home by yourself, go watch them with friends and encourage other people to go too, because it will encourage the bars and clubs to hire Dragula competitors, and they'll come perform in your town.
Ooh.
Excellent advice. This episode is filled with great news, and it's a very exciting time to be a Dragula fan, but I do want to just throw this out there. If you have hate for someone or you're going to say something not supportive about the show, do us all a favor and just don't. Support the people that you love and be here for why we put out the show, which is to celebrate the uncelebrated.
So we've talked about the competitors. We've talked about what they will win. We've talked about how exciting the season is and all the twists and turns. I want to know how excited the two of you are to watch people watch what we made.
Oh, it's always so good.
Oh my God. I mean, I know you've already invoked one thing that I cannot wait. And this is, I actually
Toilet bowl.
Toilet bowl. Toilet bowl. I really feel like this season is maybe one of the best to watch in a viewing party capacity. Like, there are so many amazing, fun, spicy, and just kind of like joyous moments to really kind of kiki with your best girlfriends, girl.
Yeah,
at the club with.
And we're not scared to be stupid, right? It's fierce, it's fierce, it's cunty, it's cutting, it's edgy, it's dark, and it's also ridiculous and stupid. It's all the great things about Dragula this year.
Totally. And
It's super dumb this year, and I'm so thrilled about it.
Me too. And I promise I am not going to spoil anything, but to answer your question, Drac, how excited am I to see other people's reactions? There is something in this first episode that I know when we get to it, I will not be watching the screen. My eyes will be directly on the crowd because Mama Gagula,
yes.
she's the killer queen.
Oh, it's going to be so good. And on that, it's time to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Thank you for joining us. That's all the time we have today, and be sure to tune in to the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans on October 25th. For some of you, as we mentioned, it will be the 24th, and help spread the word that the show is coming. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks for the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night, and remember to send us your listener questions to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com.
Till next time, uglies. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted by the Boulet Brothers with their co-host and producer, Ian DeVogler. Engineered and mixed by Carlos Bueno, with music by Neuron Spector.